Everything you wanted to know about mortgages in the market today. Hey guys, I am with the amazing Randi Wright with Cityscape Home Mortgage. You are a wealth of knowledge, and if you've been following me for a while, they've probably seen you before. So they already know how amazing you are. But if you're new here, hey, we're going to talk about mortgages today. So what's new? What's happening in the mortgage world?
It is busy. There has been an uptick of loan applications, which is amazing. We love to see that. That's a good sign for everybody in real estate. So we love that. And one thing that's really been happening is we've all been hearing in the news about rates dropping. There's a little bit of truth to that, but it's a little more complex than they let on in the news.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I saw it. Everyone started posting, oh, rates are dropping. But I mean, I'm sure there's more insight to that from a mortgage lender's perspective, and we don't want to get people's hopes up. So what can people actually expect if they're applying for a mortgage today?
So I would say that the government type loans like FHA, VA, USDA, those types of loans, we are seeing the rates in the mid sixes. Conventionals kind of holding strong around in the sevens. It is not dropping the way other government loans are dropping. So only time will tell what happens with that. But rates are still great. And
rates are great. And I think we've talked about this in other videos, but people need to be keeping in mind too, don't be a rate chaser. There's a whole video on that. But you know, when someone quotes a rate, that's not set in stone. And also there's a lot of things that factor into that, like debt to income, your job history,
your credit score, your loan type, your property type, the loan purpose. There's a lot of stuff that goes into that rate.
Right. So don't just start calling, and if they say the rate's more, don't just hang up. You actually want to get pre-approvals, or not pre-approvals, but loan estimates from those companies so you can actually compare apples to apples and not just what they tell you over the phone.
But also, you can't lock a rate until you have a contract on a property. And that's the thing people always forget. They call mortgage companies and want to hear what the rate is, and they can tell you anything they want if they don't have a loan application for you.
Exactly.
You want to get a true, accurate quote. And you know, you could get one quote today, and next week it could be different. So you just want to stay on top of those rates and have a loan officer you can trust.
Absolutely. So what can people expect as far as just the typical, you know, if I want to buy a house today and I need a loan, how long does it take me to purchase a home?
Well, the actual contract to close is about 30 days, but to get pre-approved, it doesn't take that long at all. If you do a loan application, you can usually get pre-approved the very same day, unless you have a complex financial picture. Like if you're self-employed, if we need a lot of documentation from you, it can take a little bit longer, but we're pretty speedy over here at Cityscape. We like to get right on it. If you give us your stuff, we're on it.
That is true. And a lot of the speed, like you said, give us your stuff. That's a very important part, because the lender can't do anything until you start providing the bank statements, the W-2s, and the 1099s, things that they need to verify your income and assets, because your hands are kind of tied. If you don't have the numbers, you can't really start the process.
And the last thing you want to do is fill out a loan application and not have anything verified on it. Because you can get a false pre-approval. And there's a lot of lenders who are happy to pass out those letters without any kind of verification, and that's really not the way to go.
Yeah, and from a realtor standpoint, realtors in the market know the difference between a pre-qualification and a pre-approval. In most cases, the pre-approval means they did actually verify those assets. It wasn't just based on what somebody told a lender on the phone. And when you're shopping for houses, your pre-approval with verified income and assets is way stronger than someone else who came in who just had a pre-qual that maybe their assets weren't verified. And good realtors on the sales side for the listing agents, they're going to call and ask, hey, did your buyer's lender actually verify their assets? Are they actually approved? So don't think that you can just, you know, I'm gonna throw out Rocket Mortgage. They're really good at giving you approvals over the phone. And not to say they haven't closed loans, but a lot of times those aren't verified approvals. It's just based on what you typed in on their form. And if you go buy a house with that, it doesn't hold as much weight as an approval from a local lender who actually checked your stuff.
It's true. Yeah. Sometimes we have to rescue people from those big online lenders because basically they saw your credit score and looked it over and said, great, but you weren't great. So, you know, there's nothing worse than getting that phone call from someone crying because they're supposed to close in a week and the lender they're working with just didn't take that deep dive into their actual financial picture. So we want to make sure to avoid that kind of heartache. And, you know, sometimes people don't know there's a problem until there's a problem.
Definitely.
And we never want you to experience that.
Yeah, I mean, the heartbreak when you find the one, especially if you've been shopping, you've looked at several houses, and then you find out you're not even going to be able to get the money to buy this house that you just worked so hard to get, and multiple offers and whatever the situation was. And definitely, like Randi said, we don't want any crying phone calls. We don't want any heartbreak, because that's a really hard thing to deal with. And thankfully, Cityscape has been able to save loans from those companies that didn't give a solid approval letter. But we just want to save you from having that hassle, because buying a house can be stressful enough on its own.
Absolutely.
A lot of times when I post about houses, the self-employed people are always in the comments like, I'm never going to be able to buy a house. I've talked to so many lenders. They all deny me because I didn't claim enough on my taxes, which is what everyone does as self-employed. So what are some steps that a self-employed individual might take if they're planning on buying a house in the next few years?
Sure. So one thing to remember is that lenders are going to go off the taxed income. We know that your taxed income does not always reflect real life. So what we want to do is see 2 years of your most recent tax returns. Right now, we're at that time of year where a lot of people are getting ready to file their 2024 tax returns. So we've actually taken a look at a lot of drafts to make sure that when they do file them on April 15th, that they're in line to have enough income so that they can buy a house in May or June or July, whatever their time frame is. So we're kind of at that great time of year where people are preparing for taxes, and that's a great time to loop your lender in to make sure you're on the right track.
Yeah, I mean, it's really as simple as just making sure you're claiming enough to qualify for the home that you're trying to purchase. Another thing, it does come up. I think it's the less better route, but obviously there are bank statement loans available. And why would that maybe not be the best solution for someone? Or why could it be?
Yeah, okay, sometimes it's your only choice if you're self-employed, and that's a great way to go. It's gonna get you the house, but it's a non-traditional loan. And so some of your consumer protections are actually stripped when you use a special loan like that. It means you're gonna have a little bit higher rate. You're definitely maybe going to have some extra fees. They're kind of removing some of those consumer protections to do the loan for you. So, you know, if you can qualify for a traditional loan like FHA or conventional or something like that, that's where you really get the best rates, the lowest fees, all of those things that are regulated by the government. So we always want to go that route first. And if it doesn't work, then we have backup plans so that you can still buy a house.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's way cheaper and you get a way better deal with the traditional loan products than having to go outside of that box of home loan products.
Right.
Now, I've made videos on this before, Randi, about are we headed for a crash? What, like, things are crazy. Can it keep getting more expensive? It's just like prices keep going up. People can't afford houses. It's got to stop at some point, right?
Well, not necessarily. We see in bigger markets like Austin, Los Angeles, Chicago, you know, places in New York, the house prices just continue to go up and up and up. And that's because of demand. Supply and demand is a very real thing.
Right.
And it determines the prices of houses. And right now in the Tulsa market, Broken Arrow and surrounding communities, we have a lot of demand for housing.
Yeah.
And so it drives our prices up. So I don't see them coming down anytime soon.
No. And I mentioned in other videos too, a lot of people they think like 08 is going to happen again. And it's like, that is so far from the truth, because in 08, there was a lot of bad lending practices and a lot of things that we just can't even do today.
Right, that is so true.
As realtors and lenders, there's so many precautions and what do you say, safeguards put in place. But additionally, I was looking at foreclosure rates and they're like less than it's like 0.3% and even less over the last 4 years. So there's not, the HUD market used to be huge. There was a lot of housing and urban development homes that came on from foreclosures, and I think there's been 3 this year that I know of.
Yeah, and the other thing the other thing we have going on in Tulsa and the surrounding areas is so many people moving here that didn't used to be moving here. Right. Oklahoma has become a hotspot. It just has. People are leaving other states to come here for the first time ever. And it's kind of exciting, but it's also like, oh, our wonderful little secret of a town is now getting more recognition and people are moving here. It's causing our prices to go up.
It is. But even at that, you know, I think about that sometimes, especially when I start comparing to like Austin, like you mentioned, or California, even like New York, Colorado, their home prices are so high that even though they are higher in our local market for us Oklahomans, people from out of state are like, that's a steal.
They think it's cheap.
You know?
They do, especially Californians.
And even some of my marketing for the Californians, it talks about like the airport, it's in and out. If you still want to go to the beach on the weekend, you can do that while having a significantly cheaper mortgage and still going and visiting and doing all the things that you love to do while enjoying maybe a slower pace of life. That's not so hectic.
Yeah.
But I think too, and correct me, this is more just your opinion on things, but I think Tulsa and really just this whole community of the suburbs is really growing at a rapid rate. I mean, we have like the big amphitheater that's coming in Broken Arrow. They've done a lot of work on the Gathering Place. They added the bridge, so they're going to do more development on the other side. So I think we're kind of like at the cusp of this boom of
I think so too.
Even more development in the Tulsa
there's
area.
a lot of new construction going up in South County. I mean, it's growing.
Yeah,
and,
I mean, even in Bixby, like that south
Owasso,
area,
all over.
Houses everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, I always, they always say you should build the wider streets first and then build the houses, but it's already getting congested and the city's having to look at widening a lot of these streets because there's just so many people that want to live here to take advantage of the lower cost of living. But also, I think Oklahoma, specifically the Tulsa area, really has anything anybody could want.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, restaurants.
Yeah, there's a lot to do. We have great lakes to run off to on the weekends. There's a lot of great things to do in Tulsa.
Absolutely. Well, I hope you have enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for sharing all of your insight like always. And if you're thinking of making a move here, obviously reach out to me. I'll put Randi's information in the description as well if you need all the financial services. Hope you have a great day. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content like this, and I will see you in the next one.